Hello and welcome to Bargain Bin. My name's Jonny, and this is my co-host,
Jamie.
Coming in with the spice, as you always do, Jam. We started this podcast with the goal of not being another podcast where two white people just talk about video games, and folks, now it seems like we might become that, because
I guess there's a reason why there are so many of those out there.
Well, let me explain. We've obviously had a couple of weeks off from the podcast. We were traveling a bit, and then last week, getting back from travel was busy, and Jamie and I have been doing some thinking about how we can return to the podcast week after week, make sure we're staying consistent, and interested ourselves in bringing thoughts on games to you all and just keeping the conversations interesting for us. This has coincided with the expansion of kind of both of our projects, as far as like Jamie's doing her streaming with Little Red Jam. I'm doing a lot of interviews with game devs over on the Indie Game Garden podcast, and we each have our own YouTube channels under those same names. And it's led us to think that while there still is very much a place for the kind of work we've been doing on this show, as far as like discovering smaller games and indulging in indies and scouring the Steam new releases each week, it might not be the best arena for us to do the pod together on it. So like that's kind of the news, but the good news is we're not going away. And the good news is we're each going to be doing that kind of work in our own arenas to start out, just as far as like I post like Indie Game Discover Weeklies a lot of weeks on my YouTube channel, Indie Game Garden. Jamie plays a lot of indie new releases for her streaming and YouTube channel. And then we're still going to keep this podcast going. We think we might just take it in a slightly different direction. And Jamie, I'd love to hear from you just about some of the naming things we've been discussing, about some of the kind of reasons we've maybe wanted to change, and also the direction we're looking toward, in your understanding, because this is something we wanted to talk about on the show today as well.
Yeah, and I think, I feel like we both kind of have like our own reasons for wanting to gravitate away from it, but maybe they kind of align under one reason, and we did, I feel like, kind of reach that point sort of at the same time and together. So, I mean, I think for me, while I feel like through our journey of playing some of the new games, which we've got through a lot of weeks, like several weeks and several games, I think there were a lot of weeks where it was really cool, and I felt like I was like playing games that I never would have played before, and like branching out into genres I had never touched or never thought I would touch, and discovering games that I really enjoyed. And then there were some weeks where it just felt like there were complete duds, and I think for me it was starting to impact me in a way where the dud weeks kind of were like honestly just making me feel a little sad. Like, I don't entirely know why, but I would just kind of like get off of a mediocre game and just feel a little sad about it. And I'm sure that has something to do with just the limited time we have in our days, like that anyone has in their days, but kind of trying to, for me, balance the gaming with all the other stuff I want to do. And it just felt always like a bummer to play a game where I almost felt like that time was wasted, and I'd maybe feel differently about that if I were able to do this full time and felt like I had more of the free time to spare to like really sift through games and like play some bad ones, play some mediocre ones to find the good ones to share out to people who like we knew were maybe listening and appreciating that. But I think at this point for me, I just realized that I wanted to spend my time playing games that I felt more confident in enjoying, and to like focus more on the like really awesome, wonderful games already out there and kind of known to be out there, and like, yeah, focusing more on like, I guess, more guaranteeing my joy in a game and being able to then share that, whether it's new or old. So that was kind of like, or those were some of the feelings and thoughts that were going through my mind, and feeling like I wanted to gravitate away from the purely new release bargain bin area. And like you mentioned, that doesn't mean that we won't do that. Like, I think I learned a lot from the bargain bin process of like still really enjoying sifting through the new releases and still really enjoying pushing myself out of my comfort zone to try games in genres that I'm not as familiar with, and to try games that maybe at first don't look like they would be my vibe, but if they're getting good reviews, like taking a chance and trying it. Yeah. And so should I talk about maybe some of the names that we're considering?
Yeah, I think some of the names, and one of the things that I would like to dig into over this conversation is like what the names can mean for what the show can be too. So just like
Right.
maybe your thoughts on that as well, if you have any.
Yeah. Well, you know, I feel like kind of around the same time you and I started having just some conversations about joy, and I think you were reflecting on that word in particular and like what it means to you and what that can look like in life. And that kind of led us to consider a couple different names, one being Pixel Joy and one being Gamejoy, potentially like a Gamejoy Advance type deal. And that, I mean, those names and that word in particular, joy, resonate with me very fully because, I mean, that is really kind of what I'm looking to get out of games. And that is the emotion and thing that I envision sharing with people when I think about streaming or recording playthroughs or doing this podcast, is the joy we can find out of games. And it seems kind of weird to think of it in this way, but I'm thinking even of like some of the games where it's made me like cry my eyes out, or like you've walked in on me like bawling on a couple of games before. And like, it's weird to maybe think of that as also bringing joy, but I think I just envision joy as this feeling that roots us into the world and almost like encompasses all of the emotions. Like I almost vision it as white light that can then be like put through a prism and split into all its different colors. Like I envision joy as that light where it's almost just kind of an emotion that makes us feel so human and like connected to all of our other emotions. And I feel like that is what I look for out of gaming, is just that connection to all of the emotions that ultimately results in a joyful life and joyful experiences.
That's beautiful. Very well put. It's funny your mind went there, because my mind also went to like, oh, but what about if we ever play like a zombie game or a game that's like really sad? And I think the word that kept coming back to my mind when I was reflecting on it is like catharsis. Like there's joy in catharsis. And I think like,
yeah, it's almost like, sorry to interrupt, but like
no worries,
feeling those feelings and being open to feeling those feelings, like the vulnerability is what kind of like opens ourselves up, or like, yeah, cleanses ourselves in a way to feel more joy in our lives.
Yeah, and really joy is like a shorthand, and I think a product of being earnest in the world, and in a world that I think like I've talked about before on this show and certainly at length on the other podcasts I'm doing, Indie Game Garden, about how like this is an era of unprecedented apathy among unprecedented any number of things, how wild the world is today, but like apathy on the part of people who can make change by being earnest in the world is like, I think, so counter to what we need. And so like rooting the show in Gamejoy and both bringing our earnest love of games to the show feels really authentic and very much needed in my life. So I hope some listeners feel the same way.
And unfortunately, Pixel Earnest doesn't really have quite the same ring to it.
Neither does Game Earnest.
No. So we're probably sticking with,
we'll stick with Gamejoy.
with joy.
But just know that there's all those thoughts and feelings behind it too. It's also the sort of thing that like I was interested in your take on this next thought I'm going to express, which is like, in my mind, the like ethos behind the show we want to do has already been laid out pretty clearly by one of my favorite podcasts these days, which is Into the Aether. And their whole deal is like, they don't do new releases all the time. I know you've listened to a few episodes with me, but their kind of whole deal is they don't do new releases all the time. They don't do retro games all the time, but they just do games that are bringing them joy or that are making them like feel things, or games that they have blind spots with that they want to check back out. And in doing so, their basically one rule is that they they hope to never like shit on a game on their show. You know, like they hope to they only bring games that they have. It doesn't necessarily need to be positive, but it needs to be like thought-provoking and interesting to talk about and stimulating for them. And so in a lot of cases, it's games that they have enjoyed. But I think that that's, you know, even though there's another podcast doing it, I don't think you can have enough of that in the world. And I think
I feel like it's the same thing. Like, you have so many streamers out there. You have so many people like doing game stuff on YouTube, and just because one person's doing it doesn't mean anyone else should, because there's so many games out there, and everyone loves different games for different reasons, and loves different people putting out content for different reasons, like of how they approach the game. So yeah, I feel like the more the merrier. Yeah,
and I just thought I would like to hear your thoughts on this, but I think like those sentiments are pretty much one-to-one with what we want to do. Is like, we want to bring games that either we're playing because we heard they're good and they could be from, you know, years ago, or we're playing because we heard they're good and they were released yesterday. But like, the importance is rooting the joy in games and having conversations about that. And just one other thing I wanted to get in before I turn the floor over is like, I think part of the reason I connected with what you were saying about feeling sad on the weeks where we were playing games that we didn't connect with for whatever reason was because, like, it kind of stops the momentum because you're putting time into something that you're not necessarily getting joy out of. And so it makes you question, like, do I actually like this thing that I'm spending so much time and money and effort on, as far as like games and hobbies and trying to like make content and stuff like that? But it also, like, it makes me sad to say someone's game is bad, you know? Like, I don't like doing that. And I think it's not necessarily even bad. It's just like not ready for a commercial audience, or not ready for me as a consumer. And so I think the idea of rooting joy in games also comes back to like bringing games to the show that we have really enjoyed and having that joy kind of radiate out. And it's like, it's a win for everyone when we do that, and it's a loss for everyone when we do the opposite of that.
Right. I mean, especially in today's day and age, it's like there's no need for another thing out there that just kind of roots us in more negativity or things that don't bring us joy, because frankly, there's so much else out there for that we have to kind of consume, whether we mean to or not, just in every waking hour. So yeah, I feel like I really like kind of how you put it. Like, it just doesn't do any justice to any of our listeners or us to be spending our time engaging with or talking about things that just didn't resonate with us. And I mean, I think there will be moments where we can kind of just say just that. It's like, oh, I tried this game, wasn't really for me, didn't really resonate. But it, yeah, you know, kind of when we were doing the bargain bin, it felt more like we picked a game, and if we weren't liking it, it was like, well, I still have to get through this game. And it was just a lot of like, I have to do this. Like, I'm not really enjoying this, but I feel like I have to do this. And then we have to talk about it. And that's just not a place that we want to be putting ourselves in, or the listeners. Because, I don't think that's fun for listeners either.
Yeah, I totally agree. So that's kind of the shift we were thinking. And we were thinking Gamejoy for the name. And then maybe like Gamejoy Advance could be down the road, like a bonus pod type of thing.
Yeah. Have you looked into if that name is available places? That was the one thought.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, this episode will still be called Bargain Bin.
Right.
And so I will do that work before next episode. And if the listeners see that it's called Gamejoy, then they'll know that the name was not copyrighted or taken by another podcast. And if it's called something else, you'll know that all these underpinnings are still real. It's just underpinning a different name.
Exactly.
So yeah, I wanted to include that just at the start here, because I was going to say like, it's the last episode of Bargain Bin, but I didn't want to scare people. So it might just be the last episode called Bargain Bin, but we'll still be here talking about games. And on that front, I also kind of wanted to just address really quickly how I'm envisioning, like spending time moving forward. Cause like I've been going back and forth a lot on my like law school idea, and like if I'm going to go, how that would truncate my time, and if we'll still have time to do stuff like this. And I think the answer is yes, if I do both, which is looking pretty likely. And that also led me to just like liking the idea of Gamejoy, because I think it can be a more casual space. And I'm hopefully it's not too rough for the listeners. And if it is, I'll figure something out, or we'll get a producer to edit the show and pay them. But like, I'm hoping this can just be more of like a stream of consciousness, and I can just like put the music in, make any small changes if there are like big silences, and then just upload it, instead of like kind of editing out little uhs or pauses or what have you. And so that's just something I want to work toward. It's obviously not pressing now, but I think that will help me as the maker of this show, feel like I can continue to dedicate time to it and feel joy from it. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, certainly. I feel like as long as, again, we're having fun doing it, then it's like, why not? Maybe we can also do some little like life challenges where we try to omit ums and likes from our day to day, and then you won't have to do any editing pretty much at all.
That's true. Well, we'll see. I don't want listeners to take that as like the quality is already going to drop below its very low quality. I think mainly I just want y'all to know like where our heads are at and why we're really excited to move into this next chapter with the podcast. And if you hear us stuttering more or saying things wrong, you'll know it's because I'm just not touching it as much moving forward.
Just a busy Jonny.
Busy me. Busy me is a happy me in some ways. And I've also found that like, doing my yoga and mindfulness exercises in the morning, as strange as that sounds, have made me like enjoy games even more, because it like allows me to really appreciate the like experiences I've been having in my body, and the brain is like a part of the body, and it's so cool that like we can dedicate time to kind of caring for the brain through games in a lot of ways.
Yeah, certainly. And I find it interesting that you bring that up, because I think I've been sort of experiencing or feeling something similar to that and haven't fully put it into thoughts and words yet. I've maybe touched upon it a little bit, but with starting doing more streaming and recording of playthroughs, since you read more of the dialogue and you kind of take the time to really read everything, say everything out loud, engage with more stuff, it's been really interesting seeing how that's impacted how I feel about games, engage with games, view games, and how they impact me, because I've definitely been in places before where I've tried to engage with a game that was a bit slower paced or had a lot of dialogue, was more story based, and would often find myself getting impatient or not playing for very long. And it's kind of funny, like, reflecting on my childhood when I felt like my brothers were playing a bunch of FPS games and Halo and whatnot. And it felt like there's more of this idea of video games being a negative thing, you know, like wasting your time and like people getting addicted to it. And certainly that can happen kind of with anything. I mean, you can like binge watch shows in an unhealthy way or movies. But it's interesting feeling like there's that underlying idea that I grew up with, and now feeling like the way I engage with games actually is sort of meditative in a way, like slowing down. I'm playing Esoteric Ebb right now, and it's a Disco Elysium-like game, so there's a ton of dialogue. I mean, most of the game you're just reading things, and I don't think I ever would have thought that I would have been able to get through a game like that, or necessarily enjoy a game like that, because it is so much slower paced, and I'm loving it, like, because I'm streaming it and it's causing me to slow down and actually engage with everything. It's been such a great experience, and I look forward to it, and I feel like it slows me down in a way and calms me in a way and allows me to slow down in other areas of my life and just kind of sit and enjoy something. So yeah, it's kind of, I that made me think of that with you saying that doing some yoga and meditation helps you engage with games, because I feel like being able to slow the brain down and play games in a way that isn't just quick dopamine rushes or quick content allows us to enjoy them more fully and enjoy the experience that they're looking to give us and provide us.
I'm glad you mentioned Esoteric Ebb, because I've been eager to hear about it. And this seems like a perfect arena if you have anything more to say about it. Maybe that's not spoilery for me and our listeners, but I loved hearing about how it made you feel. If that's all you have to say, that's totally fine. But I was wondering if there was anything more.
Yeah. And I figure kind of maybe at this point we can just kind of get into talking about what we've been up to and what we've been playing. So like I mentioned, I've been streaming Esoteric Ebb. I didn't really know what to expect out of how long it might be. I think I had looked up that it's about 20 to 30 hours, and maybe it'll hit around that mark. I think right now I'm potentially at the 25-hour mark-ish. And after the first playthrough, when it was so much dialogue, and I think I played for about 3 to 4 hours, and I feel like I got nowhere in the game, barely any time in the game had passed, and I was like, oh no, what have I gotten myself into? And then I just kind of kept going after it the next day and like the next stream, and then suddenly the story was picking up and I was getting into the flow of reading all the things and learning about characters and uncovering some of the story. And then now I'm finding myself close to being addicted, where each time I have to end a stream, I'm sad about ending it because I just want to keep progressing forward. But yeah, I've really loved it. I think it's interesting playing it without having played Disco Elysium, because from what I can tell, they do seem like they're extremely similar, but Esoteric Ebb is D&D based, so there are rolls, like D20 rolls you can do. There's not really combat. Like there are a couple combat moments, but they're tied into sort of the dialogue setup and just some basic D20 rolls. So I feel like D&D inspired, but doesn't really feel like a D&D campaign. But I think it's really fun having that chance aspect to if something will happen or work or not work. I think the writing's really good and in depth. I don't know if I would necessarily say that the writing's like beautiful. Like I just started playing The Drifter today, and in that I feel like the writing is beautiful. And in Esoteric Ebb, I just feel like it's so impressive how much lore there is and all the branches and how they all tie back together. To me, it's just astounding thinking about the developer making this game and all the pieces of information. I imagine like notes on the wall and the red string tying it all together. That's what I picture. So it's a very impressive game, but I'm enjoying it a lot. I really like the characters in the game. Yeah, it makes me eager to play Disco Elysium to be able to compare the two.
That'll be a good stream too. So are you thinking of streaming that one, or you're not sure?
I'll either stream it or record it on YouTube. It is funny. There's one of my followers on Twitch who's been following with Esoteric Ebb has been eager for me to try Disco Elysium too. So they keep mentioning, they're like, and then after you finish this, you can try Disco Elysium. Wink, 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 wink. I'm like, I have it on my notes app where all the games I want to try to either stream or record.
Yeah, it's in our Steam library, so
yeah,
you can play it. But
there's really no barrier.
Yeah, I mean, the only barrier is like, I feel like the last thing I wanted to do after playing even just some not finishing Disco Elysium is like play another game like that. So I'm sure you'll have some stuff in between as our backlog ever grows. But that's awesome. I also notice when I come in and like lurk while you're playing, the art's really cool in Esoteric Ebb. It's very beautiful, colorful. It seems like when the characters come up, are they like more hand drawn, and then on the screen they're kind of like low poly, or what would you say the art style is like? Yeah,
I would say that. Yeah, kind of when you're walking around, everything is 3D. Not like super low poly.
Yeah,
but
I guess low poly is not the right word.
But high poly?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Polygonal.
Yes. Yeah, and then when you're in dialogue with someone, there'll be like a flat kind of, I guess, hand-drawn visual of them. And sometimes those can be really cool. And yeah, I mean, some of the characters, there are celestials and like beasts, because it is a fantasy D&D world, so some of the visuals and designs of the characters are really quite beautiful.
Yeah, it seems that way. Do you know if the developer did it all himself? Is it a he? I feel like it's a he. I've heard it's
I believe
a he.
it is. I feel like their name's like Christopher or something like that.
Do you know if it was just one person in that sense or if they got help? My guess is they would get help with something. Because it seems like all of that text, all of that art, and all of that coding.
I'm also like trying to think now if it was Esoteric Ebb or if it was a different game I picked up where there were some credits to the game that like rolled at the start of the game that listed out like some of the developers, and I feel like it might have been Esoteric Ebb, and I think I noticed there were like two main people who had worked on it, but it might have been a different game.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been two people worked on Escape from Ever After too, which maybe...
No, it wasn't that.
Yeah.
It was recently. It was in the last few weeks.
Well, that's some homework for us, but an astounding feat nonetheless, especially considering it was made by like a very small team, mostly by one person. It's wild.
It is like on the title screen, and it's kind of fun. There are like these campaign notes or like session notes that'll pop up on the title screen after your plays that just kind of summarize what you've accomplished and what you might need to do next, and they're all signed, if that's the correct name, by Chris. And on the title screen it does only have their name, so I mean that does make me think even if there was some help, most of the game was probably done by that person. So yeah, which is really something.
What are your thoughts on the name?
This is where like there are some aspects of the game that I'm just kind of like, huh?
Yeah.
The word esoteric probably appears in the dialogue of this game. It's got to be like in the thousands.
What?
The word esoteric
they
is
say
in almost
esoteric a lot?
It's in almost like every sentence.
Huh.
And it seems like it's a bit.
That's so strange.
Yeah.
It's like when you try to say meow in a sentence, just randomly meow.
Yeah. Because it's like, oh, esoteric forces, esoteric magic, esoteric place, esoteric blah, blah, blah.
Huh.
So there are things like that, like esoteric is, and it like, I think it calls it out at some point too, like early on, just about like, it's like, what the hell does esoteric mean?
Interesting.
And then there are some other things like, I mean, there's a lot of, well, the premise of the game, which you learn right off the bat, so it's not a spoiler, is that there's an election day happening in a few days, and there's something that happens that you then the main character are assigned to investigate, and it's thought that maybe the event was made to like because the election was coming up and to throw things off or cause ill harm. So there is also like a lot of talk about different political groups in the world and in the game. And then there's also like another D&D aspect is it takes all of the abilities of D&D like strength, wisdom, charisma, etc., and each of those are like parts of your personality that will chime in with an inner monologue, which I believe is very Disco Elysium like as you're going through the world. And like the strength ability is really into like being a man and like picking up women kind of a little bit, so that like there are some points in that dialogue where I'm like, even if this is a bit memey, I feel like it's a little unnecessary, where it's like it's still kind of portraying this idea that strength is a manly thing, and it's like I feel like in today's day you can portray strength as something like oh, that's silly and kind of, I don't know, just wanting to show off without equating it to being a man. So there are like little bits and pieces in some of the dialogue and story like that where in my head I've just kind of been in like a little I don't know how I feel about that, but yeah,
that's fascinating. I feel like we're not going to stray into the territory necessarily of questioning the intentions of the developer or the mindset of the developer just because we can't know, but that's another thing I'm interested in as far as like Gamejoy and this show is like finding critiques within games that we're really enjoying.
Right.
And so it's great to hear that you're having those critical thoughts, and I'm excited to continue checking out some of your streams, lurking as I do, and also hearing the full recap once you finish. How close are you to finishing that one up?
I think I'll be able to finish in the next couple of plays, so 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah, kind of a long game. You've had a lot of good sessions with it.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah.
I've heard, yeah, like if you like Disco Elysium, you'll like it, but I've also heard that like people who got a lot out of the more like D&D crunchy parts of Baldur's Gate might connect with this game too, in a slightly different way, because it's kind of like I mean, even though it's not lo-fi at all, it's like a lo-fi Baldur's Gate, just because Baldur's Gate is so expansive.
Yeah,
and
I would
not
say
combat and all that stuff.
It's like this. I mean, it's like the story side of that. Like,
Yeah.
no combat, but you're like walking around, you're engaging with people. There are side quests you can do. There's the main quests you can do. You're uncovering a story. You make rolls and checks to do certain things and engage with things in certain ways. So
yeah,
I've enjoyed it.
It's cool. It's like, it's definitely the kind of game where when I think about it, I understand wanting to watch streamers a lot more. Like generally, as someone who plays a lot of games and like has the means to buy them and is like interested in having those experiences for myself, I sometimes am like, I don't know, like this streamer seems cool, but I'm not sure if I'll fully engage with their stuff. But like Esoteric Ebb might get me there, just because I thought Disco Elysium was very cool and the art style was awesome, but like I just, oddly enough, I would think I would be the exact demographic, but I just didn't connect with it that much. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll watch your stream and see if it's something that might feel similarly, or I'll just give it a try. But it's cool that, as you were saying earlier, like so many different people like so many different types of things, and there are ways to experience games in ways that aren't just playing them now, and that's the kind of service that you provide, and that's awesome.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. Before starting streaming or recording stuff, I was kind of like, why would people watch streams? Like, why do people love watching games? Like, why would you not just play a game? And now I'm like, my list is growing so large of all the games I would love to experience and try, and I'm not going to get around to them. And I realized that it is so nice to sometimes pop on a stream while you're working or doing other things and sort of get to kind of engage in and out on a game, and feel like you can experience without taking the time to actually play it, which, takes a lot more focus, and you can't really be multitasking as well.
Time, focus, money, all those things we don't have enough of. Well, awesome. You mentioned the Drifter. It's another game that's gorgeous. We won't get too deep into it because we're both playing it. I'm sure we'll have more thoughts once we've both gotten through it. But I've picked it up and I just finished chapter 7. And I think you said you finished chapter 2. Mm-hmm. And all the things I have to say about it are apparent from the jump. So I won't be spoiling anything for you, but just like the pixel art like inspires me. I don't get that often, but like the pixel art is like so gorgeous in this game.
Yeah. I think it's something with the colors, which you can kind of see on the title screen art or the game art too. I feel like the way that they use their colors is just very distinct. The
color palette is really nice. First of all, so they do a good job of picking colors, picking contrasting colors, and then they also have really nice like dithering and lighting effects. Combined with really nice sound design. And so like when you're walking, you're walking on a beach kind of like along the shore, and then you'll walk on top of like a rusted out like metal fence, and you'll hear like stepping on metal, and then right when you step off you'll hear stepping on the ground. And I feel
and then there's this part where there was a storm coming in or something, and it's like way in the start of the game, and you just hear the howling wind, and I kind of had to sit there for a second being like, dang, I really feel like I'm sitting in the middle of a storm right now. Like the wind just sounds so realistic, and and the voice acting is very good.
The voice acting is absolutely stellar. I gotta get out of this train car.
There you have it.
It's basically like that.
Did Jonny do the voice acting for the Drifter?
I freaking wish. That would be like a dream come true. No, I do a better New Zealand than Australian accent, but it is so polished from kind of all the angles of a game where I tell myself sometimes that I don't connect with as much in a game and get more out of like watching a movie or something. Like, I feel like The Drifter is such a stellar 2D adventure game because it brings you back to what not only like games can be, but like what 2D adventure games can be at their best. And that was kind of like my first Gamejoy, I would say, in my like adult life, was playing this game with my dad called The Last Express. It's a game by Jordan Mechner. It wasn't 2D, but it was like rotoscoped animation, so it was like very artistic. Basically, he spent all this money on it in 1997, and then like it was a total flop. And so he didn't make the money back on it, but I loved the game. It's the Prince of Persia creator, Jordan Mechner, made this train mystery game. And it was an adventure game, so like I have my roots in adventure games, but when I've played them kind of in between then and now, I've felt like a little lukewarm, or like that was fine and I enjoyed like we played one when we were visiting family in January, and like that was fine. Like it was pretty good. Like the story was pretty good. The art was cool, but like it only was fun because we were all there together. But The Drifter is like nailing it on so many levels, and like it makes it feel like a game. There are puzzles. You have to kind of interact with your environment in creative ways. So it's not just like a visual novel, but then the parts that need to be cinematic and the parts that need to be literary and the parts that need to be like interesting in their aesthetic value alone outside of the gameplay also are. And I just feel like that is such an accomplishment, especially because I'm pretty sure one person made it, or two. Like very few people made it. And so it's a studio, I think one or two people, called Powerhoof. And they released something alongside The Drifter called Power Quest, which is a Unity framework to help make 2D adventure games. So it basically turns so cool. Yeah, it turns Unity into kind of like a 2D adventure game engine instead of, you know, the all tool professional engine that it is. And like, I don't know, I'm just so endeared to those folks, and yeah, it's inspired me. So like picked up my iPad again. I'm like trying to do a little pixel art thing. So who knows?
That's so funny. I literally only played maybe an hour and a half of this game so far. And my immediate thoughts were, thinking about that game we played at your parents' house with your dad, where I was like, this really, because we were kind of thinking about what we thought of that game. And like,
it was Detective Instinct, Farewell, My Beloved.
Yeah. And I haven't played too many point and clicks, and I've always kind of just felt like they're just not my style. But then playing a game like The Drifter, I was like, oh no, like point and clicks could be my style, and this is like a true example of kind of the best of the best. Kind of, I mean, it's always so special, I feel like, when you get a game that sort of can turn people not endeared to a genre and endear them to a certain genre. And then my other thought was that you could make a game like this. I mean, the writing is just so beautiful, and you love to write, and I feel like that's kind of what I think about when you've mentioned making games before, is something that has beautiful writing and a story behind it, and then is just turned into game form in a meaningful way. So those were kind of my two main thoughts when I first started playing the game. But
the piercing rain, chill to cold from the water in the reservoir. I gotta get a fire going.
One of my favorite lines that really stuck out to me was, there's like, it described a handkerchief dripping out of the pocket of a coat. And I was just like, ooh, I love that. That's probably like pretty simple, but I was just like, a handkerchief dripping out of the pocket.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, you also like have to think about even though the game is more linear than something like Esoteric Ebb, I still imagine it's got to be like branching to hell with a bunch of note cards and like little things to keep track of all the items you would need to design the puzzles. So what a feat.
The game has 97% positive reviews on Steam out of 3,000 reviews. And those are just the English reviews.
It's pretty sick. And I saw like I've been researching Power Quest a little bit, the like Unity plugin that the game was made in. And like I think like over 50 games have been made in the little engine that the company
Really?
released for free.
That's so fun.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. And again, like, you know, circling back, since we're talking on this episode about kind of where we want the direction of this pod to go, I mean, a game like The Drifter is one of those games that makes me feel so much more confident in kind of the direction we want to be going, because I mean, it was released in 2025, so it's not that long ago. Like, it could still be considered a newer release to many, but you know, if we were going on the bargain bin path, it wouldn't meet our criteria for something to pick up. I think was it 2025? I think it was like June or something.
I think it was last year. Yeah.
Okay.
It could have been.
It felt
the
like
year
it was
before,
about
but
a year ago.
Yeah.
Or
it
so.
was a year or two ago.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, of course, I'll have to finish the game. We both do, and have to see how that might change how we feel about it. But right off the bat, it just feels like one of those game changer games that you play and it can really impact you in a special way.
Yeah, which is, you know, that's kind of the core of Gamejoy. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Speaking of more joy, Jam, I was going on a rant about this while recording a little after interview spiel for Indie Game Garden today, so it's fresh in my mind. The PS2 journey for us has been somewhat harrowing, but also beautiful.
You've been handling most of it. I just get the updates.
But basically, I ordered this modded PS2 because I was like, how fun would that be? Have a bunch of PS1 and PS2 games right there on the hardware. Came in. It just happened to be from the UK, right? Not going to be a problem. Okay, well, it comes with a plug that doesn't fit the wall socket. That's fine. For pennies on Amazon, I can get a power supply. So I get that. US plug comes in, plug it in, no pilot light at all. So I'm like, damn, is it broken? Message the guy on eBay. He's like, you idiot. A different voltage comes out of the walls in our respective countries. And I'm like, holy shit, do I have to return this thing I've been waiting for so long, anticipating, and that I was so excited to play. And he was like, you could try getting a voltage converter, which is like, it turns out to be this kind of hefty box. I would say it's about 3 pounds. It's not that hefty, but it's nearly the size of the PS2.
It really actually is.
So I go pick that up from a hardware store. It was like $50, so I'm not that excited about it, but the console with the mod is getting rare enough, and the skill set is like esoteric enough that I didn't want to do it myself. So I was like, okay, if this will work, it could still be saving money. So I go get the voltage converter, bring it back, plug it into the TV. Nothing. Not coming up, but it is turning on. So I'm like, this is progress. Turns out TVs have advanced to a point where, like, some of them
Turns out TVs have advanced, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah, some of them no longer pick up the signal for PS2, and then the PS1 signal is even lower than the PS2 signal. They're measured in P's. I don't know what the P stands for, but like PS1 is like 240p, PS2 is like 560p or something like that. I'm getting the numbers wrong, but our TV upstairs doesn't work with the P's.
Too good. It's too good.
No P's to spare. I go downstairs. I plug it into there.
To the TV we got for free.
It's probably older. It's probably jankier. So it picks up the P's of the jankier tech. Now, super interesting thing. We started playing some PS2 games. I played a little bit of Silent Hill 2. I was like, holy shit. This is like Twin Peaks, but also I died and I have to go all the way back to this well that was 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, all the games you were trying, like, you were like, I just want to save and quit. When can I save and quit?
Well, also I was hungry, and I don't know. I just yesterday was a wild day.
Yeah. I mean, you were just given, it was a taste test of the games.
I was messing around. So I was playing a lot of PS2 games. That was fun. Then I try PS1 game. TV doesn't pick up that signal. So it's fascinating how when the device, because PS2s are back compatible, this device comes with a lot of games installed on it already. And when you go back to PS1, the TV no longer recognizes it, which is so fascinating. It's like no signal. And that's not something that's not something my Gen Z brain had ever like absorbed that could happen.
It's like, oh, our newer devices aren't compatible with our older devices.
Yes, but also like that's been a revelation for sure. But and there's a whole, it turns out, I mean, it makes sense. There's a whole industry of devices like upscalers. We've been talking about getting an upscaler for the PS2, so we are not limited to playing on our downstairs janky TV. But that are like, the industry is centered around getting old tech to work on new devices, and it's a pricey industry. But in addition to that like one frequency could work, and then you move a system back, even if it's on the same hardware and the TV doesn't pick up that frequency. That's so fascinating to me. I've just been loving getting into all this old tech stuff.
I'm so glad you're enjoying it, because I don't know if I would really have the time or patience to handle all that right now, but it's fun to sort of live vicariously through you and imagine myself figuring it all out, because I think that's something that I do enjoy, and I get to enjoy it through you without the painful parts.
Yeah, the tinkering can be fun, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's something you need to put in a drawer. One of the things I was like reflecting on again on Indie Game Garden is like, kind of like you were saying about getting kind of sad, like when you play a mediocre game. I like found myself getting kind of sad when I was losing myself in the PS2 stuff and the PS Vita hacking that I was doing, because like I wasn't playing, and like playing is ultimately what I enjoy, playing and thinking about what I'm playing, and like the tinkering is just to get there. And if your hobby life is out of balance, I feel like it can throw off everything from your work life to other passions to these types of things. So, keep your hobby life in balance, folks. It's really important. And prioritize play on whatever you can. We all have got something to play on, or we're probably not listening.
Yeah, that's so true. I love that. Keep your hobby life in balance.
Speaking of which, I have some stellar phone games to recommend to you, Jamie. I picked up Downwell, which is a game I've been meaning to play for a long time, and phone is the best arena for it. It's by Ojiro Fumoto, and he's one of the people who worked on UFO 50, which is cool, but he made Downwell before, and that's kind of what he's known for. And then I also picked up Guncho, Guncho, which is like a tactics roguelike where you roguelike because you don't keep progress from run to run. And it's kind of like it's like a tactics RPG. We've talked about it, Jeanne d'Arc, kind of Baldur's Gate even at times. But it's in the Wild West, and you can either move or you can shoot. And these enemies with different abilities kind of come at you and move after your turn. And it's like 1-on-7, and it's really cool.
Huh.
Came out a couple years ago.
That's fun. I love that you're getting into some phone games out there, because that is a world that I've never touched outside of Genshin Impact.
My friends have been asking me for some phone games, so I've been trying to demo some for them.
That's right. And I told you to suggest Genshin Impact to them, and you were like, heck no, never in my life.
It's funny that you think that's like the quintessential phone game, because I think a lot of people think of phone games as like what you can play when you're like taking a poopy.
Yeah.
And Genshin Impact, I would not say is that.
No.
Genshin Impact like
You
wants
need
to
internet
take over your
access.
whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really trying to prey on people going through depressive periods.
That's really sad to hear.
Well, I was going to say that it's probably not, but I don't know if I can say that.
Well, Jamie, I know you have some work to do, so maybe it's time to wrap up. What do you think?
That seems good. on our previous note.
Well, fuck you too. Only other thing I wanted to mention was I've been kind of a bum recently, but no longer. But like over the last week, I've been a little bummy, and I've been just binging Elementary, which is like the Lucy Liu is Joan Watson, and Johnny Lee Miller is like this very neurotic Sherlock Holmes, and they're in New York, and it's like really quite a show. It's not good, but it's like perfect to have on in the background. It's another thing that like I would listen to like my favorite critics, my favorite games people, and they're always like, oh, it's great to have on while you're watching TV. And I'm like,
They would talk about this show.
No.
Oh.
Like they would talk about like, oh, Diablo 4 is a great game, you know, to just have on while you have TV on in the background. And I'm like, why would anyone ever have TV on in the background? Like, you can't focus on two things at once. And then now I'm like, oh, like, yeah. Sometimes you need to tune out of Elementary, but it's a perfect show for that. And sometimes you want to tune in, which is great.
You need a show
I watch it raw dog, you know?
Yeah, you need a show that's just bad enough and just good enough.
Yeah. So.
And it's been great because I can like come down and sit next to you and be doing my work.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's in stark contrast to Fargo, which is the other show we've been watching. And it's the type of thing where like it'll be 10 p.m. and we won't have an early morning the next morning. And I'll be like, should we watch Fargo after watching a couple episodes of Elementary? And you'll be like, I'm not mentally prepared for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of the vibe in our house, and that's kind of all I got to say.
Yeah.
You're good?
I think I'm good. I feel like the only things I've been up to lately are the working and the streaming, and yeah.
Hell yeah, you had a good bagel today. Tell the listeners about that.
Yeah, I did. It was a delicious lox bagel. Had some salmon roe on it. It was delicious.
Amazing. Well, the next time you listen into this podcast, it might be called something else, and we'll keep people posted on what that is. But I'm going to try to get it so it's in the same feed and everything, and very easy to just make the switch. We appreciate you listening so far, and we hope you continue to enjoy it. If you've listened this long, it's likely that you are enjoying it, and so we ask that you tell one friend. We do nothing to market the show, and it would mean a lot to us to expand a little bit more and have a bit more of a listenership. Also, you can give us a rating on Apple Podcasts. Just click any number of stars you would like on Spotify. Follow Jamie on YouTube and Twitch, which is Little Red Jam. You can check out my other stuff at Indie Game Garden. It's a podcast, it's a YouTube channel, all that stuff, and we'll catch you next time.
Love y'all. Bye.